This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are joined by a special guest, a professional performer and co-creator of Produce, Maria New.
Yay!
Hi!
Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
For our listeners who do not know you and want to know more about you, please just tell us all about being a dancer. I mean, how long have you been a dancer and a performer for? How long has it been a professional thing? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so I've been dancing all my life, actually. I started when I was 2. It was more like a hobby.
2?
My mum and my nan were both dancers. So I was brought up with it. And as soon as I could walk, basically, my mum was going, right, she's going to ballet. That's it.
You can walk, you can twirl.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just, I could walk, I could dance. It just came natural.
Wow.
And then when I was in 6th form, I was sat there thinking, okay, right, what do I want to do? And I was thinking about courses I wanted to study, and I was like, I just can't imagine anything else except dance. And so that was it. And I was then like, right, I'm doing this. I've got to put all my effort into it if I'm going to make this choice. So yeah, since then.
That's quite daunting because it's so very few kind of make it big, so that must have been it's like all or nothing, isn't it, going into that?
Yeah, and at the time as well, I was very, very passionate about dancing and acting at the same time. But the only courses that really did both of them were musical theatre. And for me, singing wasn't my forte. It wasn't, I hadn't been brought up with it. I hadn't really sang in front of people. It was just a totally bizarre thing.
Right.
So I really had to, I remember my mum sitting down with me and going, right, I think you're going to have to go for musical theatre. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to learn to sing. So yeah, it was a really tricky time, but I don't think when you're younger, you think, oh yeah, I'll do it. It'll be a lot of fun, but big decision there, big decision.
I mean, not to age us horrifically, but back then as well, I feel like dance was pretty much viewed as you either had to go to the most elite place or that was it. You weren't becoming a dancer. It wasn't, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it in this conversation, but there's so many variations of dance now, aren't there, in the sense of career-wise, hobbies, things like that. But that wasn't really in our face. I think the only way I ever got to consume dance was obviously at the theatre, like you said, musical theatre, things like that. In movies, Step Up, that was massive for us, all those sorts of dances and stuff, because it was always linked with the music at the time as well. Or it's all of the really big, massive grand productions on what's it called? Broadway or
the West End.
West End, that's it, yeah. You know what I mean? It's all of these really, really big things, and not so much, you wouldn't always hear about the smaller stuff. I don't even know if they existed. They probably did, but
yeah,
it's a big thing. So I feel like back then that must have been really daunting to think, right, I've either got to be elite or it's not happening.
Well, this is the thing, and as well, there wasn't as many schools when I was applying,
right?
And there was a very few schools that were right, I've got to get here. When I was little, it was London Studio Centre. That was a really big school that I wanted to go to, and if you didn't get into there, that was it. That was it. And I remember when I did my first round of auditions, I got through, I think, a few first rounds, because you have to do multiple rounds to get in. And then when I didn't get into them, I remember being like, well, what do I do? And then I found this amazing college called Reed College. They're based in Reading. And at the time they were really tiny, and they did a foundation course. And to this day, they gave me the best training that I ever had. When it's the universe just put this in front of you, and it was just the right timing. The people I met there, the training I got from there was just incredible. And it was at that time when I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't get into these elite places, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it then. I'm not going to make it. So yeah, it was very daunting. And when I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness, did I really go through that?
Yeah, and I guess you have to get a thick skin quite early on, I imagine, because you're going through all these auditions and things. You kind of got to learn that you're going to be rejected at some point.
Yeah.
So did you have to learn that quite early on?
Because I got rejected for the first round, I feel like I learned about rejection quite early on, whereas there was quite a few people when I eventually went to musical theatre school that had been lucky enough to get in first time, and so then when you got out and you graduated and went to the auditions, getting then rejected from auditions was a lot harder for them.
Right.
Whereas like for the likes of me, I was like, right, okay then, well, there's another job coming up. There's another job coming up. I'm gonna go for another one. Whereas it is, you have to develop that thick skin, and you can only do it through experience. You can't just say, right, I'm gonna I'll be fine. It's only when you get that. Like, I didn't go to London Studio Centre in the end, and I remember that being like really, really hard. But the school I went to was just as good, and it's just kind of accepting that sometimes things happen for a reason.
Definitely. I've heard the other day, I was listening to a podcast that has a professional dancer in it, and she was saying that the sort of average time that a dancer gets in auditions is 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I was like, can you even do a move that like in that? Like how is that possible that they know straight away 10 seconds? So I just think that's insane pressure, because I feel like with other jobs, with an interview process, you could be there for an hour.
Yeah,
it's not a 10-second thing, that is a really cutthroat sort of industry.
Yeah, I remember I went to a Royal Caribbean audition, and I had to be there. So I had to be at Pineapple. I think the doors open for 9:00, but I got there at about 7:30, and we were all queuing up outside. And then you had to go in and you had to get your registration form, and there was thousands of us, absolutely thousands. And I got put in a group like 4 or 5, and you just sat in a room until you were called. You got taught this routine, and I'm not joking, I was in and out within 10 minutes, but I didn't get seen until like 3:00 in the afternoon. And they just look at you, and sometimes they'll go, oh, so we've got a costume and she doesn't fit that costume, so we can't have her. Like, it isn't, I don't think it's a tricky thing, because I think in some parts of the industry it's got better with the looks and like the size and that, but in some respects they don't have a lot of money. They really don't. So if you don't fit the costume, then you might not get it. And they're not turning around to you and saying like, oh, she's too skinny, she's like this. It's just they're like, we can't afford to make a new costume. And then you think, oh my goodness, like, the industry it was struggling already, and now as well, gosh, it's it's a toughie.
I probably should have asked you this before. What type of dance is it that you actually like specialize in, that you practice?
So quite a few, actually.
Go for it. Tell us all.
Since COVID, I've been teaching quite a lot, and I've been teaching ballet, tap, modern, contemporary, and street dance.
What's left?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. What? I did ballet, tap, and modern since I was little, so to do them it's quite easy. Street dance and contemporary are something that I feel like they're a bit maturer, and like contemporary is definitely my forte. Like when I was in college, contemporary was my favorite.
Right. Is that like your favorite to consume as well, to like to watch people performing like that? Yeah,
it's a bit weird, and so I like the weirdness of it. Like you can really just push the boundaries, and like it you like there's like, I feel like when you go and watch a ballet, you're expecting quite pleasant, like the storyline might be quite dramatic. Street dance, it can be quite aggressive and all that. Contemporary, it could just blur all the lines completely.
I quite like how contemporary's mixing with other things as well.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, have you seen Ballet Black? I don't know.
No, but it's on my list.
I went to see it before the pandemic and everything, and it's incredible because they do one part without any music as well. So if them doing ballet, so you're hearing their breathing and stuff, but they're acting out. So they're acting whilst doing ballet with no music. It's incredible when they're able to blur the lines.
Yeah. One of my third year pieces, I was in a contemporary piece, and the whole piece was just one long, I wouldn't even say like it had like a beat to it, but there wasn't really much to the music at all. And there was a group of us, and you just kind of had to guess when you were all like going, what count you were on, and like you really just have to embody each other. And I think that's what makes it such a cool style, because you don't just dance to like, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm dancing because this person's moving. I can feel their energy and I'm going with them. And like, it's a beautiful skill.
I think it's so amazing to watch. And I also think it's interesting, like you were saying with counts, how dance, and one of my closest friends, he's a dancer, and when we've spoke about different things, when I'm thinking from a music perspective and he's coming from a dance perspective, and we're saying right now, and I'm like, no, that's not when the beat is, and he's like, no, but that's not when the count is. I'm like, what's the difference? And he said they're completely different things, and it's crazy that they're different. Two things that are so different in timing come together to make something amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when I'm choreographing, like there's sometimes as well, like I'm choreographing to the counts, and then all of a sudden I'm like, but that lyric sounds really cool, so we're gonna jump. And then the kids are going to me, so what count was that on? I was like, just go on the word love, right, just go. And they're like, right, okay.
So is it kids that you teach?
At the moment, yeah. So since COVID kicked in, I've been teaching a lot more. I think the youngest I teach is 3, up to about 15, 16.
And that's over Zoom.
Yeah, how do you teach 3-year-olds over Zoom?
It's a lot of like games. So you kind of have like, it's not telling them like it's a dance lesson. You're kind of going, oh, right, okay, let's play this game. And then you're not tricking them, but like they're kind of learning while playing at the same time.
Right. I wanted to ask, because obviously we know that dance is a hard industry to break into based on just the audition process, but is it a hard career to maintain as well? Like, is there a shelf life? Because some of my most favorite dancers are still performing in their 50s, but then you hear about other people and it's like, no, they're saying that they're tapping out before 30 because of certain things, and it's based on the style of dance, I guess. But do you feel like there's a shelf life?
I think there is and there isn't, and I think that it depends on what you want from life. Like the dancer's life can be very what's the word I'm looking for, like temperamental, not very like, oh, you're going to buy a house, like you don't get a lot of stability in it. So right. I think if you're prepared to have that instability for a long time, like you might not have a job for like 6 months, maybe a year,
right?
And if you can fund yourself, or like find somewhere that can fund yourself and just keep going, then yeah, I think you can carry on for a long time. But a lot of people, they do tap out probably around 30, and it's normally because they want kids, or they want to settle down and like getting a mortgage and like adult things like that, really.
The dance is almost like a young person's thing, you would say, almost.
I kind of don't want to say that.
No,
I really don't. But like, yes,
on average,
on average it is. But I feel like if I was to go into it older, I might be able to get more jobs. Like I've had this discussion with my dad recently. So my dad has decided that he wanted to be an extra in a few things, and he's managed to get quite a few extra jobs. On films and TV shows, and it's because there's not very many people his age going for it.
Right.
So there's kind of a demand for older actors, dancers and all that, because like there is stuff that need that age. But by the time you get there, like people, as soon as they make that decision, they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to put my dancing to bed. They're like, I don't want to go back.
Right. I suppose because it's such a grueling process for a lot of people. I mean, as amazing and incredible as it is to see the end product, the training is brutal for so many of them. I don't think I know of one type of dance where they have it easy, you know, with the training. I don't think. Yeah,
and like when you're like the first week I was in college, they were I remember my ballet class, she was like, right, you're not wearing ballet shoes, we're going to wear shorts, a leotard, and we're going back to basics. And I was like, right, okay then. And I've been studying ballet since I was 2, so I was like, I know the basics, like what is this going on about? And we learned everything like from scratch, from scratch. And I remember it just coming home and being like, like, and you learn so much, don't get me wrong, but you're like, okay, I'm ready for the 3 years now, like I've got.
So did you end up doing a musical theatre then?
Yeah, okay. I was really lucky. So I went to Reed Dance and Theatre College and did a foundation course in musical theatre. Right. So I did that for a year, and after I came out, I then got a place at Millennium, which is over near Greenwich. and they do a musical theatre course over there. Yeah, so I studied there for 3 years after that.
So you had to do the singing in the end?
Yes, I did.
Is Millennium a chain then? Because I think of Millennium in LA. You know, the one that's...
I don't think so. I don't think
another
so.
one.
It might just be related.
Okay.
That one.
Well, that then. So I wanted to ask, because obviously from the pandemic, we're looking at our phones, and during this time TikTok has been something that has literally skyrocketed, and one of the things that it's most popular for, at least that most of us know or have seen, is dance is huge on TikTok. It's made songs big as well, that there's so many different TikTok dances and dancers. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on that versus trained dancers and dancers. Like, what do you think of it all?
I mean, overall, I think TikTok's been absolutely awesome for dance, because kids just want to dance now. And like, it's really brought a fun element to it. So like, I've got kids that know dances, and like, there's just, like, I say to them, like, right, you teach me that TikTok dance, and then like, I'll teach you something else. Like, and it's something that you can really relate with people. And I think it's given, especially the younger generation, something to do, and something that's more proactive than just sitting and playing a video game. I think also it's given dancers, like professional dancers, a platform to show what they can do. Like, I know quite a few of my professional friends that have been quite successful on TikTok during this pandemic, because they are able to learn these dances, to show them off, and they're good at it. Like, they are good at it. Obviously there are going to be people that get famous that haven't had the training, which I guess is
I
always...
wanted to know what you thought of that more.
Yeah.
So, I've seen... do you follow Anthony Lee? He's the creator of the Kinjaz.
No.
Okay, so he's a trained street dancer, I guess you'd call. And he was talking on a show the other day, talking about TikTok dancers and stuff, and dancers who, you know, aren't getting jobs at the moment, trained ones, but people who... I don't want to necessarily name drop, but Addison Rae.
Yeah.
How she's getting on like the late night show with, or is it late night? Tonight Show.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon, like showing off dancing and stuff. And it's like, okay, so you're doing this stuff. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, okay. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure, you know, she's doing everything right. She's the one making millions right now. She's got it going for her. But I do sort of think, out of all of the other performers and professional dancers that I follow, I'm like, oh, I would like if they got that sort of credit.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, this has been happening for years, and like TikTok has kind of brought it up a bit more in your face. So over the last couple of years, more and more celebrities have been cast as the like main role in musicals, and it's because celebrities get bums on seats, basically. And unfortunately, I think, well, I'm hoping the pandemic's actually helped in this situation, but a lot of people wouldn't know a theatre performer if they, like, by name. Years and years ago, like, theatre performers, like, they'd have singles out, like, and they'd be quite well known. And like, for some reason, that kind of dipped. And then that's when they brought celebrities into the main roles. And then when celebrities come into the main roles, the people that have trained to be the leads are then the chorus, and then the people that are supposed to be the chorus are then not with the job. So I've kind of been experiencing it already. So for TikTok to come out and kind of go like, "Wow, this is happening," like in people's faces, I've been like, "Yeah, I know." So yes, it's
frustrating.
It's bittersweet. It really is, because like there is people out there that are very talented and can do great things on TikTok, and then there are people like that are young and still got their whole life ahead of them and can do training and all that and be amazing, and they're making millions.
I'm just really, really hopeful that, like you said, because it's had so much positive coverage and everything like that, I'm really hopeful that when the pandemic is over and more opportunities within the arts come about, that these people are recognized or scouted through TikTok or something, and they get their chance. And I mean, like you said, with auditions, they'll be able to tell who can and can't do it. Like, I suppose
100%.
That you can, the difference with a TikTok dance is that you can keep practicing it like for however many hours before you post it.
Yeah,
You know?
well, and also like when I tried to do a few TikTok dances and like try to keep like your moves to your screen as well.
Yeah.
Like it's actually really hard. I was like in the garden trying to do it, and then I was like, well, I'm out of shot now. So like there is definitely a skill to it to make yourself look good in a small space. So I give it to them 100%, but then give them a whole stage. It'd be,
I was about to say,
it'd be
that's
really
not what dance is.
interesting to see what they could do. Like, well, yeah,
whether they stay to like one little end of the
say,
stage.
like...
Oh, it'd be quite funny. It'd be good comedy sketch.
Yeah. So you posted, Maria, on your Instagram about hashtag Save the Arts during the pandemic, and your distaste for the government's advice on retraining and doing something completely different. So I'm guessing that's something that obviously touches a nerve with you if you've dedicated pretty much your whole life to dance and they're just telling you, oh, can you go and become an accountant or whatever. Can you explain like how important dances and performing is to you, and how has that been affected by the pandemic? Because now you're teaching online. What's next for the arts, do you think?
I'm hoping that as soon as this pandemic is over, there'll be a real big boost. There'll be a real need for it. Like everyone's realized, and I think that the Save the Arts, the reason I posted about Save the Arts is because I think people sometimes need it in your face about what is really struggling. Like out of every industry, the arts hasn't opened. Like really, it has. Well, maybe a week or two that I've heard that a few theatres might have been open and all that, but everything else has really been able to open, and you rely on it 24/7, like Netflix, music, like when I'm talking about the arts, I'm talking everything included. So I'm hoping that it will really boost it when people come out. Like people are like, right, okay, well, let's go to the theatre now and let's go and see things, and then hopefully
I can't wait for that to be
I know, right? I know. I've just heard the announcement that Heathers is opening in the West End, and I'm like, yes.
I don't know what that is, but I'm
Do you know? Oh, you need to see it. It's amazing. And Moulin Rouge as well, apparently. Oh, beautiful.
I haven't seen that live. I don't even think I've seen it. I don't think I've seen the movie or anything. I'm always going for the sort of actually, I sort of mix it up a lot, but I will always go and see Fiddler on the Roof when it's in. It's my favorite musical, so I'll always go and see that wherever it's in town. But yeah, I'm always down to see anything at the theatre. God, I love it.
The last thing I went to go and see was Hamilton, and
I have questions about this. I am so dumb, right? Because on Disney, do you have Disney Plus?
Yes, of course.
You know how it's on there, right?
Yeah.
I looked at the trailer, watched the trailer, and I was like, this is not Shakespeare. What have I been thinking that Hamilton is the whole time? I thought that the damn thing was about Hamlet. I thought, why is everyone excited about Hamilton? Like, why is everyone suddenly really in the mood for Shakespeare? And I was just like, no, it's not about that. Yeah, no, not at all. And it's created by Lin-Manuel, isn't it? What's his name?
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, he wrote the music in Moana. He did the Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it's just so clever.
I'm really, really wanting to see that live now. Like,
see, I saw it live. My brother became obsessed with it. My little brother, he just started playing the music. He came across it on Spotify, and then he was like, I want to go and see it. And literally just like, I think it was a couple of weeks before everything shut down, we went to go, it's just amazing. You might have to do a bit of like check on the backstory.
Well, yeah, because it's about the founder of, or one of the founding fathers of America. And so I was like, oh, now this makes sense. And the only reason that I realized what this was all about is because I follow this model and performer in Australia, because they've just opened it up in Australia. They've done Hamilton. So the guy who created it in America, he's opened it up there, and she's performing it. And she did like a IGTV thing.
Nice.
One of the scenes, I was like, what is this? And I was just like, this is Hamilton? Oh my God, okay. So then I was just like, right, Disney Plus, I need to watch this movie. But it's like 2-3 hours long. I was like, okay, I'm going to wait till I've got a good afternoon to watch it.
Well, also, you just don't quite get the atmosphere with Disney Plus. I tried to watch it again, and I was like, I'm getting a bit agitated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but of course I hadn't seen it. Like I'd seen it a couple of months before, but no, I would highly recommend it. It's different, and I think that's what makes it so popular. But yeah, knowing a bit of the backstory would help. I mean, I went in and I hadn't got a clue.
Oh, okay.
But I like that, because I feel like the theatre should be able to tell the story to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas my mum, who came with me, she likes to know the backstory before it, and I think that's because she likes to not have to struggle. Like if she can't understand it, she can then just put the pieces together. And I think both are fair, really. Like it depends what you want to appreciate. But yeah, I went in and I was like, it's just so clever. Would
you ever want to be in it if you got the chance to?
Oh yeah. Like the dancing in it is just, it's not like a big dancey musical, but the dance complements all of the scenes so well. Like you'd have a bit where they're moving and then they freeze, and your focus is then taken to this side of the stage, then they move again and then they freeze and the scene has changed. Like
that's the other part that I love about theaters or any sort of dance thing, is the choreography. Like you're watching this and you're like, God, that was brilliant, but then you're like, that was brilliant, but it was genius that was decided, like that someone thought to do that, to then go to this, to do that. And it's there's so many choreographers as well that I thought, I'm obsessed with dance. I don't dance other than like to myself, or like if we're in a club back in pre-COVID days. I love to dance, but I don't do it professionally, but I absolutely fucking love watching it. I just think it's incredible. Paris Goebel, do you follow her?
Yes.
She is just my like absolute like yes. Like I think as well, it's a bit of like a personal pride thing in some ways, because we're like, yes, someone from New Zealand, yes, she's someone sort of thing. She's getting all these incredible jobs, like that working with JLo on the Super Bowl.
Oh my goodness.
And then the Rihanna Fenty like volume 1 and 2. I'm just like, I'm obsessed with you. I just think choreography is incredible. Is that something that you would want to potentially do if you weren't the performer?
Oh yeah, like I really like choreography. Like I've dabbled in it a few times, like for like little like school shows, and I definitely really enjoy it. It takes me a while though, like because I get quite like a bit like a perfectionist on it. I'm like, no, that's wrong, and like I feel like if I need to go into it, I've got to work on that. Because you're watching it and you're like, right, this is my baby. I need it to be like just so good. But no, I just love everything to do with like anything like that. It's another creativity. Like I was never good at art or something like that, and it wasn't until like later on that I was like, well, I am creative. I'm just creative with my body rather than like art and all of that. So it's yeah, I love it.
So we've also seen on your Instagram that you have a camper van that you have refurbished and have travelled around the country in. So how did that come about?
Oh, do you know what? I was trying to think about how it came about like earlier, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure my boyfriend had the idea of a camper van.
Did you already have the van?
No. So he had an idea of like having a camper van and just travelling, and ever since I worked in Italy, I'd always wanted to travel around a bit, because I worked in Italy for 6 months with a theatre company, and every day we were moving about.
Right.
So it kind of gave me the bug of like just moving
on the
to
road.
new places. Yeah. And then as I was looking it up, I think more and more people were renovating vans and like making camper vans, and you just end up like in a, like on social media, just end up in a hole. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need this. Like I really need this.
Have you seen the ones on TikTok? Like,
oh my goodness,
I'm like subscribed to way too many of them. Like I'm just like, what have they done now?
So good, like so good. We were looking for a camper van for quite a while actually. I can't remember how it came about, but I think literally I've managed to find one because I was still at home in London, and a guy put one up on like Auto Trader. We've been looking for months, and I called the guy and I was like, right, can I come and see it? And the guy was like, yeah, I'm free tomorrow morning. Dragged my dad down, and I then explained to the guy what I wanted to do with it, and he goes, okay, you can have the van, like you can have it. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, you can have it. And like he gave us a really good deal on it as well, just because of what we wanted to do.
That's nice.
Oh, it was like everything kind of fell into place, and then all of a sudden I had this van, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this massive van.
Probably sounds stupid, but do you need a license for a van? Like as in,
so it depends on what van. Like you had to on our licenses, you can drive up to 3 tons. We had to find a van that was under a certain amount. So yeah, you can still get a very big van though. Like trying to park it outside my parents' house. Like I remember bringing it back. I was like, "Mum, look what I bought," and she was like,
"Oh no."
So yeah, and then we were converting it, and we were lucky enough to have some friends which was a carpenter and had converted vans before, so we worked with them quite closely.
Oh my god, that's so handy. I don't know how I would even start if that was
well, do you know what I think? So my boyfriend's a tattoo artist, and I think a lot of tattoo artists go down the path of like traveling, veganism, like being self-sustaining. Like there's a lot of people in tattooing that are that I wouldn't want to say that way inclined, but like just have an interest for that. And so the people he knew just managed to fit in with what we were doing. So yeah, we had a lot of meetings with these guys and them trying to put our van together, and we wanted it to be like as self-sustaining as possible. Obviously, if we were going to drive around a van, which might not be the best for the environment, we wanted to like give back as well. So we've got like solar panels on the top, and I think we can live off grid if we're like for at least a week.
That's amazing that you've got all of the sustainable features on it. So what was the whole process like? As in, was it a quick turnaround getting the van made up, or was it a while?
It was a mixture, because as we went into lockdown. So yeah, it was quite a tricky one. So like to begin with, everything we kind of worked with our friends to like do the van, and then obviously when lockdown happened, it then came a bit distance from them because we couldn't see them. Right. They lived in Dorset, so it was we couldn't physically travel to go and see them. We knew what we wanted, but also we were very open at the same time. Like we knew we wanted to use like reclaimed wood inside, and we wanted like the rustic features. We wanted like a tap that was like reclaimed metal, and we knew what vibe we wanted, and they understood it as well. And like we just trusted them and said like, look, you know what you're doing, and I'm sure if it goes terribly wrong, we'll be like, oh, maybe not that bit. And then it was the color schemes actually are quite funny. So we tried to get everything secondhand. So the cooker that we ordered came from eBay, and when we looked it up, it looked black, and we thought it was black, and then it arrived at in Dorset, and the guy goes, it's green, and I was like, oh no. Oh no. I was like, oh, but I didn't want it green. Yeah. And then the guy was like, well, maybe we could have like a green, like teal vibe going through the van. And then that was it. Like the van's now teal, and
it's so beautiful.
Funny how that works.
It is, isn't it? I remember being devastated. I was like, I checked everything. I thought it was black. But no, it's yeah, I'm so glad with everything and how it turned out, and we always knew that we wanted the double bed to be fixed, so we had to fit that in, because we thought our plan was last year to go and travel around Europe. We were going to just travel anywhere we could, and obviously we couldn't do that, but yeah, so we thought if we were traveling and going for a good couple of months, we'd want a sturdy bed.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's right to do so, to give yourself that luxury.
Yeah, exactly. And actually having a full-size bed in there, it sounds crazy, but we've got it higher up, so the amount of storage you've got underneath is incredible. And that's basically what a camper van is. A camper van is clever storage, like putting all the stuff you need and then finding clever ways to like put things. So we've got like drawers that go underneath our bed. There's little cupboards that come up at the side that you can
did you have to look online a lot for like inspo? Like were you looking on Pinterest or TikTok, or like where were you getting your ideas from, or was it something that you just figured out as you did it?
Yeah, so I was on I think Instagram and Pinterest quite a lot, but a lot of the time actually the guy, our friend, he was like, well, we could do this and we could do that, and he actually gave us a lot of the ideas. So really it was a bit of that, and there was a few YouTubers that we watched that had some really cool like camper van ideas, but we always wanted that rustic look, whereas a lot of the camper vans, they look quite they're very white, And I knew I'd get that dirty, so I was like, I don't want it white. I want it to like look clean, even though it's not. That sounds a bit gross, but like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the little bit of white paint that we've got white on our roof, and I managed like within the first couple of days to like pick something up, and we've now got a green line on it. So I was like, well, I'm glad.
How did you manage to do the ceiling?
Well, like, and also we worked out as well that when we made the bed, that I couldn't climb up onto the bed. I was too short. So we had to like make a stool, like, yeah, and I had to like climb up onto everything. Like, the whole process is, definitely been a massive learning curve. And there's not any given point where I was like, I was looking at Pinterest for this bit, because there was different points I was like, oh my goodness, like, how am I going to sort this? And there's still things now that you're trying to work out with it. Mm-hmm. It's basically like a little human robot that you gotta love. And
so I mean, I'm guessing that you guys are still planning to do the Europe thing when it's safe to do so, and
hopefully, and we're still a little unsure, just because like with COVID we had to make different choices with our both of our careers, and we've now got the van, which is great, and we can go, and we have been places. We're unsure, really. Go with the flow.
You took it around last year, didn't you, in the UK, sort of during the time where you were able to do that, and I guess that came as a benefit because you were able to get out and about during craziness, I guess. What was one of your favourite places that you got to visit?
So the first place we went to was the Peak District, and I think because it was the first place we went to, it was the first like experiencing everything, it would be my favorite. We had amazing weather. We found like the craziest spots to park, because, well, technically it's illegal to park and camp in the UK. You're not really allowed to just park up on the side of a road and camp. So it was that kind of learning experience of like, actually camping sites weren't allowed, and we had to find clever spots to park that you wouldn't get caught, but we weren't doing any harm. Like, this is the thing. Like, and then we did a big trip to Scotland, and in Scotland it's legal, so you can it's crazy. And in the Scottish Highlands, oh my god, it's campervan city. Like, everyone's getting their campervans out, like going out, and you feel like you're like, oh, hello, like
part of a little community.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And yeah, I mean, Scotland's another planet. Like, you go up to the Highlands, like, I've got family in Scotland, so I've been up there a few times, and I know I've seen Scotland. It's a beautiful place. Scottish Highlands, like, some places look like Jurassic Park. Like, you're up there, and it's so vast, like, so vast. You're driving and there's just nothing, just nature. And like, we drove to the top of a cliff. That sounds really dodgy, but like, we drove up to the top of like a hill somewhere and managed to find a parking spot. You just sit there and watch the sunset, and it just
sounds lovely.
Well, that must have been so lovely as well during a time that was just awful.
Yeah, and
you're
you know what,
it really around nature and stuff.
It brings you back, like, it brings you back down to earth. Like, you just think like, okay, so what do I want from my life? Like, it's a really deep thing to say, but like, you start thinking, you're like, oh, do I, like, I could just do this forever. I really could. And like, it really made me appreciate, like, one, what England's got to offer. Like, it really has a lot to offer, and two, just the little things. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good beach holiday with an expensive hotel, like, and all that, but just sitting with a cup of tea, watching the sunset in my campervan,
the simple things.
Yeah. Also, like, just like getting my cooker out, cooking my curry, like, it was
so cute. It is. I just think it's such a, like you said, it's a lovely way for everyone to sort of reconnect to the country that they're in. Because I mean, a lot of countries are doing this. I think a lot of people have recognized the benefit of being able to be mobile and have all their living stuff with them. It's a great way to save money, in my opinion. Like, instead like you said, of going to the really expensive hotels, as nice as a bit of luxury is every now and then, what great way to just sort of
exactly. And it teaches you things that like an expensive holiday won't teach you. Like, you're going on an expensive holiday, you like go and you're like, oh, I can buy this, I can buy that. Whereas like, if you're just in nature, I can't even tell you what lesson it's teaching you, because it's just back to basics. Like it really is back to basics. And if it was legal in England, it'd be obviously so much better. But like the thing is, there's reasons why it isn't legal in England. Like we don't have as much space as Scotland's does. Like in the Highlands there's just nothing, and that's why you can do it, and people respect it, and like they do clear up their rubbish, whereas England there isn't as much space, and so
respect.
Yeah. I was kind of,
Nope, say it how it is.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, and do you know what, it gets me really angry now, really angry. Like I go out and I'm like, how dare they, like we drove to, I think we were at a lighthouse somewhere, someone had left a frying pan on the floor, and I got into I was like, how dare they, I picked up the frying pan, I put it in the van, and I was like huffing and puffing, and he was like, okay, calm down.
Calm down, we just got a free frying pan.
So you said that your boyfriend's quite sustainable and that's sort of his way of life. And have you adopted that now since you've been together?
Do you know what? I was very lucky. My parents I've always been quite sustainable. Like my dad was always doing gardening. We always grew vegetables. I was very lucky in that respect. Like, and then at a young age we bought chickens, and got chickens in our back garden. And I feel like my boyfriend had different sustainable things, and I different. And now we've come together. We've been able to like complement each other, which has been really nice. So yeah, it's just become a way of life. Yeah. I don't really feel like I became sustainable. It's just like you do it.
What sort of sustainable things then do you feel that you practice that maybe isn't so common to everyone else, or something that people are still sort of learning, do you think?
Oh, that's a tricky question.
Like, for example, for myself, I mean, I consider myself to be pretty sustainable, but there are plenty of avenues that I don't do. But, from simple things like reusable straws to recycle to I use they called
the makeup pads. Yeah. Like I do all of that. I've started only buying from like Depop and Vinted. Like I'm not.
Oh, cool.
I started researching into fast fashion, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that again. So I'm really trying my best to not just splash all my money on Depop and Vinted, but like
you need to use it for your camper van.
Yeah, exactly. But also like I really like growing my vegetables. I've got like around me at the moment, it's all hidden away, but there's like tomatoes and lettuces and but also like just using like it's simple things like using up food. Like if you're not going to use it, like you can freeze it. Like, and it was something so simple that my mum used to do, and I didn't realize it was not like the abnormal thing, but like,
no, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? Like my mum and dad were very like waste not, want not, and so like they'd make soup and like freeze it, and like if they weren't using their vegetables, then like the ends of like the other day, what was it? The ends of broccoli. So my mum used to cut up and like all the ends of broccoli she'd put in a bag and put it in the freezer, and then when she wants to make soup, all of the stalks of the broccoli she'd put in the soup.
That's
and I was
genius.
Like, in it, and like you would throw them away, wouldn't you?
Well,
I not throw them away, but like the big stalk, like the big stalk, you might chop off. You might put it in like the
it goes in my
yeah. But she freezes it and puts it in the soup, and like it wasn't until the other day that
I was
on FaceTime to her, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mum's a genius. My mum's an actual genius. But it's like little things like that, and like ever since, because I now live with my boyfriend, and ever since I now don't have chickens here, I'm like, I don't really want to throw away food, because what we would do is we'd give any food waste to the chickens. And like you realise how much stuff you're throwing away. You're like, oh my goodness, like I don't know where to put it, because I can't give it to my chickens, and I can't like, you obviously put it in your food waste, and I'm like, oh, but I could find a chicken and give it to them.
Are you guys vegetarian or vegans or anything then? Are you?
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for 8 years.
Yeah, I thought you'd been one sort of.
Yeah, and I'm dabbling in veganism at the moment. Like, just trying it out. I don't particularly. I'm not a big
animal
dairy person.
Yeah,
but like my problem. my problem has always been my cup of tea, and I finally found the perfect vegan milk for tea, and I think it's called like My Cuppa as well. I literally found it the other day. So yeah, my journey on veganism is going quite well at the moment.
Does it help as well towards your dance, do you think, like with the diet sort of and the sustainable lifestyle? A lot of athletes anyway, they adopt the vegan lifestyle, plant-based lifestyle to help with their fitness. Do you find that helpful at all? Or I mean, I suppose if it's been in your life for nearly a decade, maybe you don't notice the difference so much.
Yeah, I don't know, because like it's a tricky one, because whenever I was in like college, like eating wasn't really spoken about. Like you were just told you needed to look good. Like you weren't really given a lot of help on stuff, and it's only like the last few years, especially since my sister's done like a nutrition course and like PT work, that I've learned the stuff you need. Right. Like people always used to say to me when I was veggie, like, oh, but you'll need protein and all that, but you don't necessarily. Don't get me wrong, like it's so easy just to eat a piece of chicken to get protein. Like you have to work a little bit harder if you want to like get protein as a vegetarian, but it's when you've been doing it for years, like you said, it just is natural.
Yeah, and I think especially with the boom lately of plant-based living, there's so many more products now out there for
so when I was a veggie to begin with, there really wasn't that much, and now I go into the supermarket, I'm like, oh, what do I want today? Like, there's so many. It's great.
That's crazy that they didn't speak about diet, because you're essentially being athletic, you're using up so much energy. Surely that should be something spoken about, like what you're putting into your body for energy. It's mad.
We probably might have had a nutrition class like the beginning of the year, and like they would tell you the stuff that you kind of were taught at school. Right. Like, it wasn't the stuff that was like helpful. Like I can't remember it. That's like how unhelpful it was, really. And like I wouldn't suggest if I was retraining again, I would definitely hope that I would eat better.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Just to go a little bit off track and sort of go back to something to do with yourself and your boyfriend, you actually have a clothing brand.
Yeah.
Called Produce. Could you please tell our listeners a bit about it, how that started and what it's about?
Yeah. So basically my boyfriend has always been very artistic. Like he's a tattoo artist, and he wanted to do t-shirts because he realized that not everyone wants a tattoo, but people like his artwork. Right. And like especially like the flowers that he like draws and the art that he creates, like people like it, and
permanently on their body.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
that's a really clever sort of thing to do, I think, as a tattoo artist.
Well, yeah, and also like there's, I didn't realize this when I first started going out with him. Like tattoo is an art. Like people get like words and stuff like that, and that's great. Like people will want that. But like if you go to a tattoo artist and you're like, right, I want you to create me something. Like they're artists at the end of the day. They'll create you something phenomenal, but like they might need your whole back, and sitting for all those hours is not something you will want to do. So he'd been talking about doing t-shirts and doing clothing for ages, and then I really got into, like, I wanted tie-dye stuff. And so we were like, oh, well, I'll do the art and then we can tie-dye the t-shirts. And yeah, so that was how the first the first fashion line started. And then from there, it's just kind of just keeps going, really. We're in the process at the moment, like thinking up what's the next line, like what we want from it. It's been a really cool process. Like it's not something that I ever thought I would do. So I've been really lucky to kind of go along with it, and like, oh my gosh, the fashion world's a crazy world.
So on your on the page or on is it the website, it says that you're ethical and recyclable. What things are you doing to implement that?
So like we're trying to go to local printing businesses, we try and get the products sourced as locally as we can, and we're also planting trees as much as possible. So there's a couple of websites that in a couple of countries actually that we are like donating to. So every purchase that comes to us, we're donating money and planting as many trees as possible, because there is going to be times where you don't realize you're not being sustainable.
Right.
Do you know, like it's a crazy thing to admit. Like, and we are trying to be as sustainable as possible, but we're like, well, what more can we do? So that's when the tree idea came up, and we were like, well, the more we're bringing light that we're planting trees, the more like the message is being spoken, isn't it? And more people start talking about it.
Oh, I love that. I think it's great that you're doing that, because I think exactly like you said, we can try and be as sustainable as possible, you know, as much as we can. But at the end of the day, there's certain things we can't avoid. And that does contribute towards a lot of the climate change and problems and issues that we're facing. So I think making conscious decisions and efforts like you are, I think it all goes towards the greater good, doesn't it? So I think it's brilliant that you're doing
I think it's great to be honest about it as well. Like you can try and be as sustainable, and sometimes you're not, but at least you're trying. And I think that's like that's a big thing that everyone needs to like, because some people are like, yeah, but I can't, I need stuff off Amazon and stuff like that. That's fine. That's fine. But then what else can you do? Like, I'm not saying like cut it all out. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's stuff that I've ordered off Amazon, but there's also other things that I'm trying my best to then do to make up for that. And I think that's what people need to take away at this moment in time.
I think that one of the quotes, and I know Jess favors this quote as well, that I've shared quite a few times with people, is the notion of having more imperfect environmentalists rather than perfect ones, because if everyone was being an imperfect environmentalist, meaning they were trying to do something, not doing everything perfectly, just trying to make the effort, it would make such a massive difference. Because unfortunately there are people out there who don't give a shit for a start, or they just they don't know some of the things that they're doing that are harmful, or they can't be helped. I think one of the things that I always feel guilty for, and I mean not so much during the pandemic, or not at all during the pandemic, is travel. Travel is my most harmful thing, because there's a thing, actually, I'll put it in the description for people if they want to do it, on WWF, World Wildlife Foundation, not wrestling, for anyone who's getting that confused. They have like a calculator to work out your carbon footprint effect on and it's really not fun, because it is and it isn't. If I was to retake it now, I think I'd probably feel a little bit better about myself, but I took it at a time where I was having to so basically you click on it and they ask you a set of questions like, you know, how do you get to work and all these sorts of things. Have you visited these countries in the last place? You know, how many types of flights did you have to do? Flights were my biggest factor. So that instantly puts you in red. If I didn't have those, I probably would have been in like green, like in the green zone. Put me straight to red because of how, you know, harmful it is. And I remember when I looked at that, I just felt so much guilt. But then there's also a moment where I'm like, but I am doing my part. Like I am doing some other things.
You're not going to be able to stop planes in the sky.
No, and I think that's too, but at the same time,
I know, and I think it's a crazy thing to say, but it's also such a relevant thing to say. Like, yes, there are certain things that are out of our control, but there is also a lot of things that are in our control. Like littering, like, do you know what I mean? Like it's a really tiny
throwing
thing.
Your pans out.
Yeah, pans on the floor. That's not biodegradable, okay?
Well, it's true. It's when you know better, you do better. So I think it's just like making that conscious effort to even just tune in to consciously what you're doing around you and thinking, what small things can I change, does make such a difference. And I think a lot of people don't realize as well, you could be saving yourself a lot of money as well. Like you can have a lot of personal benefits. Like if you want to be selfish about it, like think of it that way.
I thought this about makeup wipes, right? Like I was like, I've been spending so much money on makeup wipes. One, they're not very good for my skin, right? And two, I've now got these ones which I just wash and use over and over again. Like, I'm saving so much money. Please, everyone do it. Like,
yeah.
I'm loving all this, and I wish we could keep going. I'm sure we'd love to have you back on if you would. But sort of round up so we don't take up all your time and all of our listeners' time. But do you have any sort of goals as such, or plans for the dance, with the van life, with Produce? Like, what's sort of to come for you?
Well, at the moment, I'm studying my DDE dance teaching. So I decided over COVID that I wanted to get something out of it, basically. So I've been studying to become like a qualified dance teacher, so I can submit kids to exams. So if I wanted to obviously set up my own dance school, my own classes, if they wanted to take an exam in this particular organisation, then they can. So I'm doing that, hoping that maybe in the future I can set up my own classes, like maybe my own school, like just to see what happens, really. I would love to get away in the van. Absolutely love to. It'd be awesome. It just depends on what happens. Produce, well, we're trying to come up with a new line at the moment, and we're toying between like creating a story like through our lines, and like there's a lot of things that we're like kind of gravitating towards, but everything's up in the air at the moment, and it's really hard to plan, and I'm kind of just taking each step as I can, and also like just doing too many things all at once. Like if you like, you know, when you're creating something, and we wanted to make like a whole line, and I was like, wow, okay, we can afford that, but we've then got nothing after it. Like, and it's like knowing when to do things, and obviously if people aren't working, then people don't have money, so it's just taking our time, really.
Oh, well, we're wishing you all the best and all the luck and everything. I really hope that the dance, everything with the dance thrives. I'm excited to see your journeys with van life, and hopefully we get to see more clothing line dropping soon, so yay. So we like to dedicate every episode to a small charity, an organization, or a small business, and of course we want to shout out to Produce. So can you please tell our listeners how they can get involved, or how they can support?
So I mean, we've got an Instagram page. It's just simply @Produce. It'd be lovely if you could follow us. If you want to check out our website, it's www.produce.co.uk, and you can see all of our stuff on the website. We've got all of our lines up there. We've also got a bit of a community page as well. We really want to build a community with Produce. Like, if there's any artists that wanted to like collaborate with clothing or stuff like that. We want it to be like a hub of artists coming together to create like clothing or anything, really. So if they want to check out the website, Instagram, that'd be great.
So please definitely go and check them out. Please go and follow. And just to sort of end everything, we like to ask our guests, what would make up your circle? What makes up your circle?
100% my family, like my boyfriend, my friends, do you know what? I think this is going to sound really sad. My plants as well. Like,
that is not sad at all.
My plants. I absolutely adore them at the moment. I go up every morning. I'm like, hello, little plants. Yeah.
Oh, do you talk to them?
Yes, and sing to them as well.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. I
love that. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, thank you so much for joining us on our circle today. We loved having you. And please everyone go and check out Maria's Instagram and check out all of the things that she's mentioned today. Make sure to support the arts. We know how important that is. And please make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to stream on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll see you for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.